Scooby-Doo. For today, and welcome to a reaction video. We haven't done one in a minute, and I don't know if y'all even know who this girl is, but we're gonna be reacting to the fall of Emmy Jones, who what's the word? I've vaguely heard about her, and if you guys don't know, if you guys haven't seen or heard of the Sonic and Tails R podcast series, but basically it was a podcast series that she put together, and she gathered up a whole bunch of like the old Sonic voice actors like Jason Griffith, Ryan Drummond, Lisa Ortiz, the guy who voiced Silver in his first appearance, all that, you know? And it was like a podcast series and stuff. I never really watched it because it's literally just like a podcast, you know, like no visuals, just sounds, and I can't do podcasts. I'm sorry. I don't have the mental capacity. Because I know my dumb ass, I'm going to get distracted by something else. I'm going to be like, what'd they say? So, yeah, no, I can't do that type of stuff. But, yeah. But, I've heard of some pretty, like, you know, fucked up shit that she's done. You know, like, I heard of one that it's in the video. And, at one point, too, like, apparently, like, it got out that she, was having sex with Ryan Drummond. And if you guys don't know who Ryan Drummond is, he's the first... Not counting the Sonic shows, like The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog or whatever, but she was having sex, yeah, with him. Basically, the guy who voiced him in the adventure games and in Sonic Heroes and all that shit. And it's like, huh? Should have been me! No, but yeah, but a little thing I've gotten from I wouldn't say a whole bunch, but is that, like, there's one thing that, is in this video that I already know about because I saw it on Twitter, but I don't know if y'all know who Aaron Weber is. He's the guy who did what's the word? He used to run the Sonic Twitter before he got promoted, and apparently she had sex with him and then leaked the Sonic Forces script from his apartment. I'm like, what? That's actually insane. But yeah, but I've always heard of this chick. There was, to me personally, even before all this shit came out, there was always something that was off to her. Yeah, there was something off about her to me. Like, I was just never like, I don't know. There's something off about this chick, but I don't know what. Like, and, you know, my spidey senses were right because, like, yeah. But yeah, I've been wanting to watch this video for a hot minute, and I decided, you know, might as well make a reaction out of it because, you know, and it's a 15-minute video, so it's probably a lot of shit. And apparently this video got taken down And the guy who made it made sure it got back up. He's like, yeah, spread the word. So I'm like, you know what? We might as well. So let's get into it. What the fuck? She's on Dr. Phil?
On this day, the world would be introduced to Emmy Jones.
Emmy Jones is a voice actress in the Sonic community who's caught up in a lot of scandals lately.
Ryan Drummond fucked Emmy Jones with the Sonic voice.
The identity of the anonymous accuser who alleged SA against Saberspark last month has been revealed.
Born on December 17th of 1993, Emmy would grow up to find a love for not only video games, but specifically Sonic the Hedgehog and many other fandoms such as My Little Pony. Spending a lot of her time on the internet, she would find the time to engross herself in these communities, growing a following, becoming figureheads of them. And after 10 to 15 years of influence...
Well, I want to make sure that the video is actually going well.
Spending a lot of her time on the internet, she would find the time to engross herself in these communities.
Alright, I just wanted to make sure real quick. Okay, we can continue.
Opportunity, and some would go as far as say power. She has used her positioning as a method of gaining more power in this community, planting seeds of division within the community that she's supposed to be growing, deceiving her audience, betraying friends, and ultimately attempting to ruin the real lives of people she simply didn't end on good terms with as a method of revenge. I'm sure as many of you have noticed over the past few months, the mask that Emmy Jones has been wearing for this time has almost completely evaporated. But for years, that mask has slowly been cracking, many people trying to get through that the person that Emmy makes herself out to be has never been who she is. Over the 30 years of the Sonic franchise's existence, we've seen many notable figures, but I believe and I say with good authority that Emmy Jones might be the first villain that it has seen. An evil queen, if you will, that has risen up the ranks, using the persona of a sweet, innocent girl to connect herself with the inner circle of the people who are behind her favorite franchise, befriending fellow large community figures and then beheading them at the slightest showing of loyalty, and using her audience by spreading lies, all for the purpose of money and gain. This is the fall of Emmy Jones, the Sonic community's evil queen.
That's actually insane, bro.
Dr. Phil is a unique place for a Sonic influencer to first
Again,
make
granted,
their
I've
appearance.
never, like,
Naturally,
really
it's
been
usually
into, like, the Sonic
YouTubers.
controversy and
At the age
stuff.
of 16, Emmy Jones
But I've heard a
would
bit of
be
shit that
pregnant
she's been
as a
in.
child, a decision that her family was not happy about. They would then write into Dr. Phil, a very famous show where he gives advice to young children and families who are going through their own family problems. They went this route instead of seeking out a private professional. I think it should be stated first up that Dr. Phil is a terrible, awful show. While there are some true characters that have graced this screen and that too deserve to be called out for being awful children, Emmy, along with a lot of other kids on this show, are just confused and lost teenagers who are being humiliated in front of millions of people on national television. And Emmy was one of these kids who decided herself that she did not want to abort or give her kid up for adoption. At the age of 17, she would eventually give birth to her daughter. And I just want to state this here, we will not be discussing her child for the duration of this video. Not only does she play little to no role in the story that we're going to be telling, but also in any of the drama or controversy. But let alone that, she is a child and does not deserve to be drug into this. But after these events, she would go on to live a relatively normal life, graduating high school, which she previously thought she wasn't going to be able to do as a teen mother, as well as working jobs. Things were pretty normal at that time. But this is around the early 2010s, where the internet is really properly getting started. More specifically, the social media age. YouTube is already at this point an established veteran website on the internet. Other social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it's becoming incredibly easy to share yourself and your interests, which Emmy developed a lot of. As a child, she gravitated towards a lot of different brands, but two stuck out in particular: Sonic the Hedgehog and My Little Pony. The latter surprisingly being what kicks off this downward trajectory. She became very engrossed in this community. In the early 2010s, more specifically 2012, My Little Pony really took off.
My Little Pony. This cartoon about pastel ponies has developed a cult following.
In 2010, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic would debut on the Hub, which would later go on to be rebranded as Discovery Family. The show would run for almost an entire decade, and would go on to be one of the most defining cartoons of that time, rebirthing what was essentially just a glorified toy line into a pop culture juggernaut, specifically having a grip on the internet. Communities would be born across the various social media platforms we discussed, eventually cultivating in actual real-life conventions taking place. series, all completely being fan-run. After starting a podcast, doing music covers, and engaging with fans on social media, Emmy Jones would go on to be one of the most well-known people in the My Little Pony community. And even if you don't know much about My Little Pony, I assure you've almost certainly heard the term brony. This is a term largely used to define male fans of the My Little Pony franchise, which was an extremely fast and large growing demographic thanks to the recently released television show. And another large prominent creator would rise amongst the My Little Pony community around the same time as Emmy, that being none other than YouTuber SaberSpark. Around this time, SaberSpark had a decent following, around 20 to 25,000 subscribers.
Now, interestingly enough, now that I'm seeing him and they're mentioning My Little Pony, I do remember him. Because again, I was also very into My Little Pony. My Little Pony's fire, I'm not gonna lie. And he would be, like, they would have, like, a series called Bronies React, and he was always, most times out of 10, in them. So now I do remember who he is, and from the way this video is going, is that they were false allegations towards him, which is actually insane, because I remember he was pretty cool. But anyway, let's continue.
On this time was a solid number to have on YouTube. But today, in 2025, SaberSpark is one of, if not the biggest animation-centric YouTuber on the entire YouTube platform, sitting at over 2 million subscribers, pulling in absolutely monster views.
He does those videos?
In the 2010s, things were a little more modest, and the two would eventually meet and become friends in the summer of 2012. The two would speak on Skype quite frequently, mainly about the show, keeping things relatively friendly, but eventually things got personal. The two were discussing their normal lives, and the fact of Emily being a mother was brought up, and how she was no longer with the father of her child.
The father of this baby, who by the way is broken up with me, right? He's gone somewhere. He's just moved on, but you think he still loves you?
This naturally transitioned into the topic of her being single, and things got progressively more flirty between the two. With the convention Canterlot Gardens being set for the 28th through 30th of September, the two were looking at that convention as a place where they could hook up. Strictly under the banner, though, of friends with benefits. The two would eventually meet at the convention, being in a hotel room with a handful of friends, but going off to eventually have sex. The two would hook up, with both parties going on to describe the encounter as brief and disappointing, but would still keep in contact after this happened. Around this time, SaberSpark was having a lot of anxiety about Emmy not getting her period, fearing that she might be pregnant. He feared this because their sex was unprotected, due to Emmy saying that she had an IUD. And despite IUDs...
Bro! Ain't no way! You telling me you just... Like, and again, I know they became friends, but I don't know if they had met beforehand. But you really gonna believe a girl who says, oh yeah, no, we could do it without a condom, I got an IUD. Like, come on, man! Like, I understand. Sometimes the quest for pussy, you know, shit, you don't care what's in the way. But come on, man! And you know damn well she was a teen mother. Nothing against teen mothers. But come on, man! Ain't no way! I'm pretty sure she didn't get pregnant, though. Hopefully. But... bro, come on, bro, come on, man. That's crazy. Anyway, let's continue.
Being 99% effective, there was always that 1% chance, and also the chance that Emmy was lying. So the two would meet up at a hotel a few months later in November of the same year for Equestria LA, another My Little Pony convention. While initially planning to take the pregnancy test, they decided to wait until the end of the convention, choosing to spend time together and have fun. They were in a relatively empty floor in the hotel, got intimate, and then went into a bathroom to have sex. After this...
But didn't they both say that the last sexual encounter they had was very disappointing? Like, again, personally, I've only ever had with one person, and it's with the person I'm currently with. But if I had a sexual experience that was disappointing, I won't be trying again. Like, I'd be like, yeah, no, you got weak game, my guy. Like, be so for real. And in the bathroom at a convention? Like, again, I don't go to conventions, so I don't know how frequent this would be. But, bro, especially if y'all have a hotel, just go to the hotel. Like, I could never understand having sex in a public place. Like, it's absolutely, like, the anxiety alone and the fear of getting caught. And not only if you get caught, but, you know, you run the risk of becoming, like, a public sex offender or some shit. Like, I could never. The thrill, the gamble would never get me, because absolutely not. But anyways, continue.
However, the two wouldn't be necessarily close during the convention, only really having one brief interaction after a screening of the Brody documentary in downtown Disney. As Saberspark was leaving the theater, he would look over, and once when they made eye contact, she would awkwardly fall down a wall, seeming to have some kind of medical issue, according to him. But after the Disney staff stepped in and gave first aid to Emmy, Saber would eventually leave, and the two would meet up on the final day of the convention so that Emmy could take her pregnancy test, which came back negative. Confused by Emmy's recent behavior and hesitancy to take the pregnancy test, Saberspark was questioning a lot about her and eventually pulled away from her, not texting back anymore and eventually unfollowing her on Twitter. The two at this point obviously were not on great terms, with Emily being quite upset at Saberspark for essentially ghosting her. This made conventions very weird, with there being awkward tension between the two, so Saberspark decided to reach out and patch things up before Saberspark eventually pulled away again. This lit a fuse under Emmy, a very angry one. And conveniently, while this relationship ended, an interest in another property grew. Around this time, Emmy was getting into cosplaying, but specifically Sonic the Hedgehog cosplay. The shoot seemingly being very high quality, and her also being conventionally attractive, the Sonic fan base took a liking. Emmy was already a pretty big Sonic fan, and with her becoming recently disillusioned with the My Little Pony community, it seemed like the perfect time to jump ship to another fan base. And while a lot of the community was eating up her cosplays, there was one individual who wasn't. Lizzie Silvas, a longtime Sonic the Hedgehog fan who did cosplay and largely credits the Sonic character for helping get her through a brain tumor. This is an objectively powerful story, and a lot of people within Sega or people associated with the Sonic brand took a liking to Lizzie for this reason. But Emmy became very popular very fast. You have to remember, the Sonic community to this day is very much so a boys club. The most popular influencers are male, and that was even more the case back in the day. So when a cute little white girl pops onto the scene and loves Sonic the Hedgehog, wearing spandex cosplay, engaging with the community, and ready to network with larger influencers, Lizzie not only found her cosplay derivative, but took Emmy as a threat, swiftly blocking her on Twitter and going about her business. While all this was going on, Emmy was preventing some pretty big name creators and influencers in the Sonic scene during the mid-2010s, specifically Matt Manheimer, the former owner of Tails Channel. If you were a Sonic fan, you are most likely familiar with Tails Channel, whether it's right now and them having a large presence on social media, or when they were a massive, almost conglomerate Sonic corporation on YouTube. But they have always held a lot of power and have had a lot of connections with not only Sonic the Hedgehog creators, but Sonic the Hedgehog itself. After creating ties with many people associated with Sega, Matt would go on to become the social media intern for Sonic the Hedgehog under Aaron Weber, the former social media manager for the Sonic Hedgehog franchise after the company went through restructuring. Aaron was much more than just the social media manager for Sonic, however, almost completely redefining the character's identity in modern pop culture zeitgeist around the mid to late 2010s as a self-aware, meta-contextual character, which had a lot of fans laughing and a lot of people looking disgusted at what they were trying to turn the Sonic franchise into. He was a part of the pitch team that presented Takashi Iizuka's Sonic Mania, the best received Sonic game at the time since Sonic Adventure 2, and also held a meeting with Jeff Fowler and Tim Miller, which a lot of fans speculate was the moment that they decided to change the movie Sonic design, which went on to reshape the franchise forever. This is an important man, and he will be playing a role very soon. Life was pretty good for Emmy. Around this time, she noticed that Lizzie blocked her, confused as to why she added Tails Channel and YouTuber Steven Nux, which directly led to dogpiling. Not just that, but truly a really fucked up reply came after saying, jealous of attention, she feels she should be getting attention for beating cancer when I'm just a pretty cosplayer. A truly fucked up and heinous thing to say about somebody, and from this point forward, Lizzie vowed revenge on Emmy Jones. Now, while yes, Emmy did start this situation off incredibly poorly, recruiting creators and their fans to attack her, and tweeting an incredibly insensitive comment, Lizzie to this day has made it her mission to destroy Emmy Jones, creating an at this point one-sided relationship with her where she is harassed, stalked, even sent the cops to her home. Now, it should be noted that Lizzie is not mentally well, and I think that comes off quite apparent, but at the same time, that does not excuse the actions of Lizzie. Well, yes, she was wronged and horrible things were done and said to her, it does not excuse a lot of her actions after that point. A lot of other videos on Emmy Jones on YouTube cover a lot of Lizzie's stuff and go far more in depth in the drama between these two than we will need today, but they were almost made in cooperation with Lizzie, who isn't the most reputable source. She would even reach out to me to help me with this video, but naturally I wouldn't respond, as this is meant to be an objective, unbiased look into Emmy Jones's fall. So this is the only time we will be talking about Lizzie and her relationship with Emmy in this video. But Emmy was doing great. Her songs were
Yeah, I think, what's the word? With the Lizzie girl, like, yeah, it's kind of fucked up that she did shit like that. But, you know, earlier when he mentioned it, and he's like, oh yeah, you know, she, you know, what's up, and like, you know, like goddamn, I'm stumbling over my words, but where she was mentioning the fact that, that like she got really into Sonic because, you know, it helped her through like a brain tumor and stuff. And although, thankfully, I have never dealt with anything as serious as that. I think I've told the story before, but, you know, when it came to me and Sonic, it was when I was, like, in 2nd grade, bro. Like, I had, like, been getting severely bullied in school, like, to the point, like, these 3 bullies in my class, they convinced the entire class to not talk to me for the whole year. And, you know, that was really hard because, like, no one would speak to me, no one would want to talk to me, stuff like that. So, you know, it really hurt, especially, like, you know, I don't even know how old I was. But, you know, obviously pretty young. And, you know, it just felt, it sucked, you know, like, it was just like, damn. And obviously, I didn't know, obviously, you know, as a child, you don't know that, but you don't know that there's an option to, like, you know, try to switch out of the class or whatever. Nor did I ever tell my mom about this kind of stuff, because, you know, it was not stuff that, you know, I talked to my mom about. But, and then my sister got into Sonic, and I remember after that, like, I would, like, be watching at home, and I was really weird. Like, I would, like, I don't know why I did this as a kid, but I would get, like, a bowl of, like, Parmesan cheese, and just, like, eat it with a spoon. I don't know why I did that shit. But, yeah, but I would be watching, like, cutscenes from, like, the Sonic and my Sonic Adventure 2 and all that, and, you know, it really brightened my day after having to deal with that at school. So, you know, Sonic has really done a lot for me, too. Like, trust, 100%. And I feel bad for the girl, the Lizzie girl, about that, because, like, you know, she was, like, you know, but I wouldn't say, well, kinda, like, the spotlight was pretty much just taken away from her just because this girl is pretty, which, you know, I struggle with that too, because I know I ain't hot shit, be honest. And, you know, there's a bunch of other people who, they get much more popularity and attention very fast because of how they look, you know, and it kind of sucks.
She was truly becoming one of the biggest figures in the community. She got a spot on the Sonic Central YouTube channel, a middling Sonic the Hedgehog collective of the era, but did consist of some pretty big name content creators around that time. And something else that happened is that she became the Sonic community's most eligible bachelorette. I'm sure you all have been waiting for it. Emmy is most known for sleeping with former Sonic voice actor Ryan Drummond. A little background on Ryan: he was Sonic's first video game voice actor, starting in 1998 with Sonic Adventure, all the way up until 2004 with Sega Superstars. By this point, he was already over 10 years removed from his tenure as Sonic the Hedgehog, and despite being very young but still around the scene at that time, I can tell you he wasn't incredibly involved with the fan base just yet. Not until 2020 did you see these former voice actors popping out in conventions, doing signings and interviews, so them not only having a relationship, but a relationship this intimate, was definitely a novelty at the time. Outside of the fact of a former official Sonic voice sleeping with a fan, the biggest controversy that arose from this is that a lot of people put this under the category of an affair. At the time, Ryan Drummond was indeed married to his wife, with his wife not filing for divorce until 2018 and it being finalized in 2019. In 2016, Emmy Jones claims that they were simply separated. When you and your partner fully agree to separate from each other and that your marriage is essentially finished outside of court, it does not fall under the guise of cheating. You both have mutually agreed to go your separate ways, but due to Ryan and his wife having multiple children, this made the divorce more complicated, which made it take more time, and notoriously, divorces that include children extend the process exponentially. As a child of divorce myself, I can attest to this. But according to multiple sources who were close to Emmy and Ryan at the time, not only did the relationship feel very affair-like, but it was also not what it was made out to be. In an interview with Mr. Enter in 2025, Emmy states that her and Ryan simply dated for around half of a year in 2016, and separated due to location purposes, specifying that he was in the Bay Area and she was in Los Angeles. Remember these dates. If you type in Emmy Jones GoFundMe into Google, and trust me, we will be talking about all of these and many more money-making ventures very soon, she has a GoFundMe set up for her to move. But when was this fundraiser created? Well, it was created in September of 2018, a whole 2 years after Emmy initially stated that her and Ryan got together, and these locations aren't adding up because Emmy lived in Ohio. Something you will discover about Emmy throughout the rest of this video is that she not only lies a lot, but about the smallest thing that I don't even feel like you would need to lie about. And I'm led to believe that she is lying to save face and protect her ego because her and Ryan were never really an official couple, more of a situationship if you will. He did not give Emmy any straight commitment and would just simply fly her out to random cities in California where he was performing at the time. They would hang out in hotels, have sex, and that would really be it. This all tracks because on Emmy's burner account where she detailed her time with Ryan, she would talk about going to see his show. Emmy by no means was living in California in 2016 when the relationship was.
Granted, I could, like, if I really wanted to, like, try to learn how to do makeup and stuff to try and do that, but one, that's a lot of work, and two, I don't want to have to do that every time I make a video just so that I can, like, get a viewer or whatever, you know? I'd rather just people want to come to see me because, you know, they genuinely think I'm funny or interesting to watch. But anyway, besides that little tangent I just went on, let's continue.
The relationship was not an affair. There was nothing necessarily weird or moral here. This is just two adults trying to figure their way around a weird, complicated relationship. I kind of hate that this is the #1 thing people talk about when it comes to Emmy Jones because it's usually just boiled down to, haha, Sonic's former voice actor slept with a fan voice actor who's like 20 years younger than him. And also, you know, they use the voice. At surface level to a normal person brain, this is really just two people having sex. If this truly was an affair and Ryan and his wife were separated, and frequently whenever this comes up, this is used as a smokescreen that covers a bigger controversy that comes later down the line with Emmy Jones. But unfortunately for us, her love life isn't done just yet. Once when her and Ryan separated, she must have gotten really into voice acting. Around this time, Emmy was becoming just as well known for her Tails impersonation as she was for her song covers. People doing Sonic voices is nothing new, as there were a lot of prominent people doing voices of characters around this time as fan projects. One of those people was named the Blue Fox. They were set to appear in Sonic the Wrath of Nazo as Tails, until they were replaced by also Emmy Jones. This is because at the time, Spirit of the Blue, the voice actor for Sonic in Sonic Wrath of Nazo, and Emmy were having a situationship of sorts. Their relationship was incredibly behind the scenes and not incredibly well defined, but it is largely believed that Emmy was using her position with Spirit of the Blue to replace the Blue-Eyed Fox as Tails in Wrath of Nazo and taking a job away from a veteran Tails fan voice actress. Her intimate relationship with Spirit of
Bro, what? That is so fucked. Like, the more I keep watching this, the more it's, like, pissing me off. And I'm pretty sure, again, that's one of the main things of the videos to show you that she's a fucked up person, which understandably so. But what? Out here using her pussy to fucking take a job away from somebody? Like, and again, I know there's like is low-key a kind of a real world problem that happens sometimes, in like even in the workplace and shit. But like, wow, that is so like, ooh, that is mind-boggling. Oh my god, she's, oh my god, I don't get how a person can be so fucked. Like, I truly don't understand. I truly don't. That is absolutely maddening. Absolutely maddening. Like, as people like this who get opportunities like this and then ruin it for everyone else. Because, like, for example, besides her, I don't know any other Sonic female Sonic content creators, like in the Sonic community. You know, like, mostly, like, they're mostly all male. Like, he stated earlier in the video, where most of the fan base is, you know, guys. You know, so I don't see a lot of female Sonic, you know, whatever. You catch my drift. And there's finally is one who's prominent in the community. Because I didn't know jack shit about Lizzie until I watched this video. I didn't know who she was. And what's the word? God, I can't think. What was I even saying? Oh my goodness. But yeah, she gets that role and then just fucks it all. So now, granted, like, let's say I wanted to do this type of stuff, like, obviously not the fucked up shit she's doing, but, like, you know, trying to get in with Sega and, like, you know, get opportunities and shit. There'll be, well, again, granted, I'm kind of like the average Joe, so maybe they wouldn't think of it too much, but it's like, oh, it's another girl, she probably slept her way into the goddamn Sonic community, or like, into Sega or some shit. Again, granted, I don't think I would ever get that far, like, be able to, like, be recognized by Sega and stuff, but, like, this now, all this shit that she's done, ruins it for the rest of us. Like, the other females who really like Sonic and would like to be able to get, like, opportunities with Sega in content creation and stuff like that, it's like, now it's like, this is like pretty much like a bump in the road, pretty much. Like, she's created a huge bump in the road for the rest of us, which sucks so much, because, like, again, oh god, I can't stand people like that, who just, they ruin everything for everyone else, and pretty much, I wouldn't say it was, like, handed to her, but a little, it kind of ish was, because all she had to do was just, oh, yeah, like they said, she's a pretty white girl, so she was able to just, you know, and post this type of stuff, and then a whole bunch, since the community is just, you know, pretty much guys, you know, they go like, ooh, pretty, like, you know, it's, pretty privilege is what it is, but yeah, and it's a thing that happened at my job too, not females, but, like, because one of my managers was, a homosexual, so he would hire, just because a guy was pretty, he would hire him, which is crazy. And, like, that manager's gone, thank God. And the pretty boys that he's hired, they're always making mistakes, and they've worked there for a hot minute. And that's like an example of pretty privilege. I hate that shit. Like, that shit, like, fuck if you have skill or anything, pretty privilege, like, it gets you far. And it's stuff like that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. But anyway, let's just continue.
Who isn't necessarily the story here. It's her using this relationship as a way for her to get a leg up in this impersonator, and this helped her with a lot of connections with a lot of popular Sonic VAs, including Ryan Drummond, Pete Capella. You might know him from voicing Silver in Sonic 06, where you can see her hanging out with him while he's playing his guitar. She would...
I want to hang out with Pete Capella! Bro, what? The OG Silver? I want to hang out with Pete Capella! Hold on, do I gotta do... Shit, hold on, y'all. I think maybe I will have to start doing my makeup and shit and make myself look good, because, shit, if I can hang out with Pete Capella... Let me stop anyway. But, actually insane. That is... Ooh!
Become involved romantically with other community figures, whether it be proper relationships, hookups, dating, situationships, or simply leading them on, sometimes for the purpose of simply liking somebody and wanting to see where it goes, or for other ulterior motives. We're not going to speculate on any of these people unless it's public knowledge or I have gotten confirmation from sources. We're not going to speculate if Emmy Jones got with Jason Griffith's dad, but somebody we know that she flirted with, or rather led on, was the member of the website and organization Sonic Retro. I will not be specifying this person for privacy reasons, as you'll come to see in future controversies that we'll get into. Harassment from Emmy and her audience plays a big role and is obviously an awful thing to do, and the last thing I want to do is incite more harassment from those people. So when something is not entirely public knowledge, please understand when I choose to exclude their names. This is a part of the story where I'm going to need you guys to hold on to your seatbelts and maybe grab a snack. Sonic Retro is a very mysterious but also very powerful organization in the Sonic community. Despite being a fan site, they hold a lot of power within the fan base based off of how long they've been around. People a part of Sonic Retro have been a part of the fan base since the 90s era. They are Sonic fan veterans and are very possessive over the community and franchise. This has led to great opportunity for members of Sonic Retro, Sergio Ray, who would go on to become the social media coordinator for Sonic the Hedgehog once again. However, now why am I talking about this random Sonic fan site outside of the fact that Emmy associated with one of their members? One day, Emmy was given the script for an upcoming Sonic game by the name of Sonic Forces by none other than this unnamed Sonic Retro member. How he retrieved this or got his hands on it, we're not entirely sure. There's been speculation that his Sonic Retro associate who worked at Sega at the time got him this. Once again, we're not here to speculate. What we do know is that Emmy would go on to Discord later that night and would go on to leak the script. For those around the Sonic community at the time, you would remember Sonic Forces script being leaked. And yes, it was from none other than Emmy herself. This was a draft from 2016, with notes given from somebody with the initials of AW. Somebody around that time that shared those same initials was Aaron Weber, someone that Emmy recently became very close to, thanks to her connections with the aforementioned Matt Mannheimer of Tales Channel and Sonic Retro members. And not only did Emmy leak this script, she leaked this script from Weber's apartment. And no, not just because they were friends, Emmy and Aaron were seeing each other at the time. I'm gonna fire over an allegedly here for legal purposes. But as you're seeing on screen right now, I have multiple testimonies from people who were close to Emmy and Aaron at the time. Now this is one of the most well-known.
Hold on, I need to rewind that to read it. Fuck it, we ball. She leaked Sonic Force's script over a Discord call while at Aaron Weber's place. I wish I had proof, but there are others that were present and know of this. I'm sick of her getting away with this BS. Oh yeah, the thing about Aaron is all true. I heard it straight from the source myself. Emmy did indeed not only leak the Force's script, but also did it from Aaron Weber's place. Yes, they were fucking. Again, I had already known about this one, but that is actually insane, bro. Actually insane. Like, it's bro, like, it's just like, at this point, like, you're kind of speechless because of, like, all the horrendous shit you're hearing, but this absolutely insane. It's absolutely maddening, because, bro, ain't no way. Like, granted, would I leak, if I were in her position, would I leak the script? No. Would I read it? Yes. Well, I'm curious. I wouldn't leak it though. Like, why what do you get from leaking a script? Like, I really want to know. Because you ain't getting money from doing it, and because, what's the word? She's not doing it under her name, so what clout would you be getting? None of it. Like, you can't just, ooh, my foot. Ooh! Ah! I cramped my foot real quick. But, like, just keep it to yourself. Like, bro, if I were to find out something, like, before it released, I wouldn't tell anybody. Maybe, like, my boyfriend. But that's pretty much it. Like, I wouldn't tell no one else. Like, oh my god, guys, did you know that in fucking, in Kingdom Hearts 4, Sora ends up becoming a fucking werewolf or some shit? Like, no, I wouldn't leak that shit. I would tell my boyfriend and then call it a day. I wouldn't fucking spoil that shit for anybody else. Because it's stuff like this, like, you know, leaks and shit, is what ends up fucking it up for the rest of us. Because, you know, like, for example, with, like, I'm trying to think of what shit that got leaked because of it. Like, Kingdom Hearts 3, I guess. Like, that's why. I don't know if it's the reason why. But it's, like, one of the reasons why, like, they release it in Japan first and then the US gets it. Again, I don't know if that's the big thing about it. But I think that's what happened with Smash Bros. Brawl, with the subspace, I can't forget, but the story mode of that game, the subspace emissary, whatever the fuck it's called. But I heard apparently because of the fact that the cutscenes got leaked on YouTube or whatever, I think that's why Sakurai never made another thing like that again because of that fact. And it's like, again, it's people like that who ruin it for the rest of us. Like, bro, what the fuck? Ah! But anyway, let's continue.
Who were close to Emmy and Aaron at the time. Now, this is one of the most well-known secrets behind the scenes in the Sonic community amongst larger influencers. It just hasn't come out because I don't feel like there's been any reason to, but when you're making an expose on Emmy Jones, now kind of feels like the right time. Many people wonder why Emmy was given so many opportunities with Sega, how she became so closely associated with the company. This is a large reason why. Her having a sexual relationship with essentially the head honcho of the Sonic brand in America around this time allowed her to get her quote-unquote foot in the door and make a lot of connections with people at Sega. She did an entire promo video for Monopoly Gamer's Sonic Edition, something really no Sonic creators were doing around that time. Being given opportunity by Sega, it was really rare, excluding being given positions at the company. At this point, Emmy wasn't just a rising star in the Sonic influencer scene. She was one of the biggest faces. A lot of that power was acquired through interesting means, but at this point in history, in the late 2010s, entering the early 2020s, Emmy was now one of the most powerful figures in the entire community. And how would she use her power? Well, unfortunately, it's all downhill for me. Throughout Emmy's time in the community, she's had many issues, whether that be her health, her need to move, her mom needing a dog, but how do we usually know about that? Her seeking financial help through her audience. Now don't get me wrong, when you have nowhere to turn to and you have a platform, you might as well use it to get help. But there's a difference between using your platform and abusing the people who have given it to you. To an unhealthy and unusual degree, Emmy asks for a lot of money from her audience quite frequently. From 3 GoFundMes initially asking for a medical dog for her mom, with a goal of $8,000 in donations, firstly wishing nothing but the best for her mom, but she was able to get a service dog regardless. To the aforementioned GoFundMe asking for $5,000 to help her move to Los Angeles, and most recently a GoFundMe to help her fight her MCAS and eating disorder, with a goal of $17,000. Throughout the years of her doing this, people have been more than willing to help, but there are a lot of people who have noticed that she is doing things that somebody who is struggling with finances doesn't typically do, such as frequently going to Disneyland, 2 trips to Japan, going to a bunch of different events and trips. All of these are luxuries. It almost feels like Emmy and her partner are able to meet their financial means, but without the support of her fan base, they might not be able to live as comfortably as they like, which by no means is the job of the innocent people around the country who simply enjoy your content to fund. It doesn't stop though at her GoFundMes and the misuse of her fans' generosity, allegedly asking for $5,000 for an album release party on Ko-Fi, or plugging an Amazon wishlist for people to simply buy her things. Now yes, this was during COVID time, so a lot of you might be saying, oh, she might have been asking for essentials. Well, you would be correct, because she got Sonic Legos and toys. Only the essentials. Plugging her Ko-Fi, asking for just random donations on a whim, such as funding migraine glasses. There's a term for this: e-begging. Emmy is an e-beggar. A lot of people, including big figures in this community, have problems, go through things, have health issues, including myself. But in my time in this fan base, I have not seen somebody ask their community so much for financial backing for the smallest, most minute things. Maybe it's the way I was raised, but I was never taught to ask for handouts. And I was especially not taught to take that money that generous people gave me to turn around and use it on luxury. Now, it doesn't stop there, unfortunately. It actually gets worse. Emmy Jones has a Patreon, of course, why wouldn't she? Where she is currently making over $400 a month. It was higher, of course, at one point, that she hasn't updated since August 3rd of 2024. The purpose of Patreon is to supply your fans with content, whether it be exclusive content, early access to content that will eventually become public, behind-the-scenes updates, what have you. But to sit there and collect hundreds of dollars from your fans and supplying them with nothing is insane. But maybe Emmy doesn't view it that way, because they are still gaining access to something. Her Discord. Emmy
I
Jones
thought-
has a Discord server where she
Bro, why did I think? I thought low-key homie's about to say, well, they are getting access to something. Her pussy. I'm surprised and she hasn't made an OF. Cause shit, at this point, with the way she's having her step up in her career by sleeping with goddamn Sega members, shit, I'm surprised she hasn't made one yet. Yo, I bet you she made one, she'd be making bank. Like, girl, at this point, you might as well. You've already been sleeping around with God knows how many fucking people to get what you want. You might as well to start an OF. Anyway, let's continue.
is active in. But this isn't your typical server where fans of someone's content can come together to meet people, bond, communicate, share interests. No, this is very close to, and I'm really trying not to be hyperbolic, a cult, where Emmy Jones is the queen and her little Patreon minions will do what she wants. Whether that be supplying her with a free Nintendo Switch 2, because, or how about when she gave out Valentine's Day cards that were $15 each? Naturally, she started doing this little money-making scheme around February, consistently fear-baiting her fans into her taking a loss on these cards if they didn't sell enough, so people bought multiple, just for months and months and months to go by until late July of that year, where she makes an announcement tossing all the blame onto her partner that he forgot to ship them. And I guess he must have forgot again, because people didn't start receiving their cards until the following year of 2025. A whole year for people to receive Valentine's Day cards. Even friends of hers, get this, were supporting her financially.
Hold on. I want to read this. When I was a teen, I gave her so much of my money out of love and pity for her situation. A woman 4 to 5 years older than myself, constantly saying she was broke in chats with her friends who gave her money weekly. Over the course of our first friendship as a teenager, I had already given Emmy close to $1,000. paid for her trips, done fundraisers for her with commissions, and exhausted myself with burnout and depression. I hated drawing her so long because of the list. $1,000? Dog. Bro. I love my friends, I do. But dog, I'm struggling! How the fuck am I supposed to give money to you to the point where you got close to $1,000 when I can barely take that shit myself? Like, no, like absolutely mad.
Close to $1,000, helping her pay for trips, meals, all of this. $10 to $25 tarot readings. Here she is fear-baiting a fan that anonymously came forward to me about how she needs money because her power is about to be shut off. He sent her money numerous times through PayPal, and when her attempt at a $450 cash out didn't work, she simply tried to just get off with a 30. This is not normal behavior. I don't care what way that you try to paint this, this is clear financial manipulation of her audience and makes her GoFundMe's all that more sketchy. Remember though, money isn't all that matters to anyone. It's also power. Her Discord has been turned into a battleground, a dictatorship, where you must, as a fan of her, build up the social credit to be one of her favorites, and if you don't, you are simply treated as lesser. A big part of this is being as hateful as she is. Emmy, at her core, does not like the community that she is a part of and profiting with. More specifically, the larger influencers and creators that she shares the scene with. It's been said that she had a whole entire hate campaign against Sam Procrastinate, where none of her audience would be able to say anything positive about the man or his content. Why is this? Because he did not personally come out and use his platform to publicly defend Emmy during one of her controversies. Which, let me remind you guys, is not the job of Sam or any content creator to do when somebody gets into a scuffle. She also has specific vendettas against Fidel of Games Cage and Tails channel, and for those who are not aware, hasn't been run by Matt Manheimer in around 10 years at this point. And I swear that this is not the purpose of me making this video, but shocker, she really doesn't like me. Having her crew go to the staff of Sonic Revolution to have me removed from the event in 2023. And once when that happened and caused issues, she of course shifted all of the blame onto her friends. Sound familiar? Keep in mind, up to this point, we never interacted. Ever. This woman is a whole 10 years my senior. I don't know why she cared so much I was there. I'm sure there were
What
many
the
people at Sonic
fuck? Duh. Well, I gotta read that shit. Hold on.
removed from the event in 2023. And once
Okay. First time, after my friend got a video from a voice actor, I was hostilely approached by Shane Tame, I don't fucking know, Sonic Revolution co-founder, asking to see my raffle ticket out of nowhere. After not being able to find it, I was told if I didn't have it, I couldn't attend the event. I showed her my ticket confirmation. After realizing how ridiculous this attempt to kick me out was, she went on to admit I'm blacklisted from the event after community member Emmy Jones asked for me to be removed. I have never been made aware of this beforehand, and have only had positive, although brief, interactions with Revolution in the past. Not once during my long history in this community have I ever interacted with this individual. Not a tweet, DM, user comment, nothing. And I can't read the rest. Hold on. Well, to this, or mention it once, and I could genuinely care less about it. I was allowed to stay, but instructed not to approach Emmy, which was never a plan. What the fuck? The audacity!
Like, make sure this heathen does not approach my presence. Like,
bro! Like, how big does she think her dick is, bro? Like, I'm sorry that we're getting kind of vulgar. I mean, granted, this shit's been a little bit vulgar, but, ugh! I hope that this video has, like, made Sega cut ties with her or something. I hope so. Like, please. Because, like, for example, I don't know if y'all know, I don't know if he's going to mention this video, but y'all know the Game Grumps, you know, like Aaron Hansen. He's one of the, you know, obviously the hosts of the, you know, it's Aaron and Dan. But, you know, at one point, you know, like, they would play the Sonic video games and they would make fun of them, which, granted, you know, they would play, like, all the bad games, like fucking Sonic, well, not Sonic 06, they would play Sonic 06. They would play, like, fucking Sonic and the Secret Rings, Sonic and the Black Knight, Sonic Adventure, and all that, whatever. You know, all the games that, like, you know, kind of have, like, you know, and make jokes and shit. And a lot of people would get mad because of that fact, which, again, I personally found them funny, but that's just me. Like, I can take the joke pretty much, like, because, again, even at the end of the day, like, I'll still be like, yo, bro, this game is good. Oh my god, you dumbass, you should have done this, blah, blah, blah. You know, like, I can take the joke, you know. But obviously I know there's other people who, like, you know, they dearly love Sonic, which I do too. I dearly love Sonic, but I can accept the criticisms and made about the, you know, past games, because, you know, they weren't always good. I ain't gonna lie. But yeah, anyway. But at one point, he was also getting, like, recognition from Sega. Like, I don't know if he was in one of the scenes with Aaron Weber. But yeah, he would talk with Aaron Weber. I think at one point he had, like, a little thing with Crush 40. Like, he performed a song with them. I don't remember which song. But yeah, stuff like that. And then people in the Sonic community were getting upset that they were giving all these opportunities to him because of the fact that all he ever does is make fun of Sonic. So Sega heard that and basically stopped giving him opportunities like that because of the fact that the fan base were getting so upset because of that. So I'm hoping that that same thing happens to her, because ain't no way, bro. Ain't no way. That's absolutely insane. Like, please, I hope Sega does not continue to work with her. I hope she does not continue to get opportunities like this anymore, because that's actually, like, maddening. Like, actually crazy. Like, no. What the fuck? Anyway, this treat. Oh, God, the roof of my mouth is burning. Goodness. This is treatment I have dealt with in the Sonic community for a long time from higher-ups and large community members. I was previously not allowed at Sonic and Sega Fan Jam Remix in 2022 because of the fear of physical and or verbal alterations, which is equally, if not more absurd than Revolution. I'm not going to act like I'm a saint or haven't said dumb things from time to time, but long before I was an established figure, I have been excluded, disrespected, and treated as lesser. It's perfectly fine with people who don't like my content, personality, or what have you. Nobody's required to be my friend or even associate with me if you don't want to, but to actively...
When that happened and caused issues, she of course shifted...
Let me see what it says. The rest.
And then, guys, I'm exhausted. I didn't have Ricardo kicked out of the event today or asking to have him on a blacklist. I stepped away when he got near to my distance, and people around me took it upon themselves to mention that I was uncomfortable with the staff. Girl, if you don't stop fucking playing victim, bitch ass, like, ugh.
All of the blame onto her friends. Sound familiar? Keep in mind, up to this point, we never interacted. Ever. This woman is a whole 10 years my senior. I don't know why she cared so much I was there. I'm sure there were many people at Sonic Revolution who saw me and were like, oh, I don't like Speed Supersonic, and then went about their business like a normal person. And I'm sure there are many people on the internet right now who see content creators like Sam or Fidel or myself, and they do not enjoy us, our personality, or our content. But you know what they do? They go about their business and do their own thing, and enjoy what they enjoy. They do not create and encourage hate campaigns against us. They do not have us physically removed from events where no trouble is being caused at. Emmy actively makes the lives of us creators worse in this community, all because she's an incredibly angry and vengeful person, and only has become more so over time. It has been reported by a former friend of hers that she would simply sit in her apartment and...
Alright, hold on, I want to read this. When we went to her home in the summer of 2022, Emmy was hate-watching videos of a Sonic creator she had a falling out with. She insisted on showing us this creator's awful content, and played multiple of their videos to her guests, who were myself, my husband, and another creator, who mostly sat there awkwardly watching. Her YouTube search had already had this person in her recent history. It was incredibly bizarre. We then spent the entirety of the night recounting drama that she had with people in the community, which I offered a tidbit about someone who I had an incredibly strange encounter with that she already knew about.
She'd watch other creators' videos who she personally didn't like. It made everybody incredibly uncomfortable and really opened the eyes to who Emmy was becoming. I needed to get a lot of that stuff out of the way, because this next segment of the video is going to get a lot more serious.
Oh, God.
We're going to be diving into some very serious topics.
Oh,
so I'm going to put up a trigger warning for the following: grooming, sexual assault, harassment, and rape. If any of you guys have heard this before, this is music by the band Hypermotions.
Oh,
One half
no.
of Hypermotions was a band by the name of Kevin Billecco. They befriended Aaron Weber and were able to start working on basically every upcoming Sonic project they had in the works. From Sonic Boom Fire and Ice, Sonic Mania, even doing a performance at the 25th anniversary party, they were very well connected in the Sonic scene and started to make a name for themselves. Emmy naturally became very close with these people, and also gained a relationship with the wife of Kevin, Evelyn Ferrer. When Evelyn and Kevin met, he was 24 and she was 15.
What
After
the
life suggests
fuck?
They would eventually get married and have a very abusive relationship, both verbally, physically. Her document, which will be linked below, was not an easy read. However, thankfully, around the pandemic, they were able to get divorced, with her staying out in Los Angeles and going back home to Pennsylvania. Like Kevin, Evelyn was also a musician, and around that time was working on a project. What project was that? Sonic and Tails R. Sonic and Tails R is a radio drama created by Emmy Jones that is mainly known for starring some very big names in the Sonic voice acting scene, such as Ryan Drummond as Sonic, Jason Griffin as Shadow, Mike Pollock as Dr. Robotnik, which there was drama about a pay discrepancy, but that quickly got resolved, so we'll be breezing over that. The first episode was even featured on the Sonic the Hedgehog official YouTube channel's fan spotlight page. Emmy was at least somewhat aware of the issues that Evelyn and Kevin were having, even being the person to tell Evelyn to speak out. But when Evelyn would eventually resign from working on Sonic and Tails R, she would go on to be replaced by Kevin, her groomer, her abuser, and the worst thing that would
What? Actually, no way. What the fuck? What? Dog. What kind of sick, evil, twisted person do you have to be to do shit like that? Just because she resigned from the project? Dog. Dog. What the fuck? Yeah, no, Sega. Come on. Y'all better have cut all ties with Emmy Jones. Cause what? Actually, insane. That is actually, like, mind-boggling. Like, whoo! Like, what the fuck? Like, what the actual fuck? That is so crazy, bro. What? Let me get a picture. Let me best we can get out this man.
all hidden under his push pause moniker. When Evelyn eventually spoke out, Emmy would too, claiming she didn't know the extensive history behind her relationship.
Oh, sure she didn't.
I find that very hard to
Yeah, exactly. Hold on, let's read this dumb shit she wrote.
Following the news yesterday, I want to take the proper time to digest all of what happened and collect my thoughts before saying anything. A lot of this has been very heavy. I do not condone Kevin's actions at all. There's no excuse for it, and like everyone else, I'm heartbroken to find out about something like this with someone I've worked closely with and have been friends with. I'm surprised she didn't fuck him too! Like, shit! Anyway, I have known he and Evelyn very well for a long time, and the extent of the circumstances of the beginning of their relationship was never communicated to me. Sure, it wasn't, you dumbass wench. Including the text messages in the document clearly showing that it was out of line and completely inappropriate. Any information I've ever heard about the beginning of the relationship was by her and Kevin together. Whenever it was discussed, I was told something completely different from what I read yesterday. Any other time was by other people where at best it was non-confrontational, a speculation that something else was going on. The story that I was told never changed, and as far as I knew, what I was told about the beginning of their relationship was what everyone else knew too. The situation where I told her to stand up for herself in October 2020 was when she and Kevin were having a disagreement about staying in LA. While he wanted to go back to his hometown, Evelyn wanted to stay to pursue her dream in music, and I encouraged her to assert that to him. I know damn well that's cap. That's all it was. It had nothing to do with abuse by way of grooming. Her composer role in the show was not filled by Kevin. It was filled by Trey. Such a cap. Like, absolutely cap! There was nothing behind Kevin's contributions to the show. He was an additional composer for certain things, like a few others that wanted to help out too. It was never meant to hurt her feelings after the show ended, I found out that it did, and I immediately reached out to apologize. It was clear to me that I completely missed the mark, and I can see that even more now after learning about everything in the document. All this being said, the situation is about me. You sure made it sound like it was. All this being,
I'm just clarifying what was said about me in the document, though that hasn't stopped others from using this to take shots at me. Shots as if it is about me. They know who they are, and while I am not surprised, I am disappointed. This overall situation should be focused on the victim, not exploitation. To push a narrative against this idea of me as a person? You're one to talk. The hypocrisy! Like... Oh! Oh! Wow! She must have looked like a dictionary or some shit while writing this, because ain't no way. Ain't no way. Going forward, all push pause songs have been removed from our tunes. I've privately messaged Evelyn and I've confronted Kevin, expressing my disappointment. I hope he gets the help that he needs. What do you mean, what help that he needs? He's a fucking pedophile. What help does he need? Jail? Like... That's actually insane. Absolutely maddening. Because... What? Like, dog. How... Bro, like... How scummy can you be? Oh my god. Let's continue.
Relationship. And I'm sorry, I find that very hard to do. You're telling me that this couple who you were closely associated with, the topic of their ages and age gap never came up. An age gap, which let me remind you, is 10 years difference. And regardless of when Emmy and Evelyn met, she would have been significantly younger than Kevin, not just in number, but by a...
Because she's used to that, because she did with Ryan Drummond.
A 22-year-old friend decided to date an 18-year-old girl fresh out of high school, let alone someone significantly older than that, dating somebody that young. Emmy deflects when Evelyn said that she needed to stick up for herself in relation to Kevin going back home to Pennsylvania and Evelyn staying in LA. And even if you didn't have the gritty details of their marriage and why it was ending, you're telling me that you didn't know anything that Kevin had done? We were talking with Evelyn, a simple discussion of life, two friends confiding in each other, no red flags were raised about Kevin or his character. But regardless of that, why would you think it is okay or moral to replace the person who is leading your project with their ex, who they are currently separating from and having a very messy situation? She then flat out lies in her statement, says that the composer role was not filled by Kevin, which yes, it's right here, it's in the credits. She then gets mad at the internet for condemning her for her wrongdoings in this situation, and ends it off by saying that she hopes that Kevin can get the help that he needs. Help he needs? He groomed a 15-year-old and then went on to abuse, manipulate, and sexually assault her in their marriage. Why would you wish him well? Wish him to hell. And what makes this even more sad is that this is not the only example of Emmy being negligent in protecting the abusers and predators that are in her life that she gives jobs and associates with. Sonic and Tails R is often hailed as Emmy Jones' project, but if you look at the credits, she is the executive producer, holds Tails, and the co-voice director. Now, why is she the co-voice director? Because there's someone else that's involved in the project far more than she is. His name is Dorian Nelson. He is the producer of Sonic and Tails R, the co-voice director, the staff writer, the staff sound designer, and he did the end credits animation. These two are obviously very close. In 2017, there was a convention named Sonic and Sega Fan Jam, which has since been rebranded to Sonic Expo Atlanta. Emmy and Dorian attended this event along with a bunch of friends, including somebody by the name of Cess. Emmy and Cess became friends when Cess was a teenager in high school. They went on vacations. Emmy would commission Cess to do art for her, and this will all essentially culminate in them attending the convention together. Unfortunately, right before the convention, her and her boyfriend broke up, and a lot of their time before the convention actually started was Emmy and Dorian comforting Cess. Cess would end up staying in a hotel room with Emmy and her friends, which was a different hotel from what the staff was staying in. Emmy would frequently go off and do her own thing, which was fine with Cess, so she was spending a lot of time with Dorian, almost looking up to him like a big brother. They would help set up the convention and then eventually go to a Denny's for food, but wouldn't leave until around 4 to 5 in the morning. It was a little too late to go to her hotel with Emmy, so she had to stay at the staff hotel where pretty much everyone was sharing a bed, where she would end up sharing a bed with Dorian. What would happen next, though, was not consensual. At one point in the night, she felt his arm around her, and then at another point during the night woke up to him spooning her. She turned around to release his grip, only to see him wide awake. He would laugh, kiss her on the face, and say, "I really like you, Cessy," while running his hand through her hair. While Cess does not qualify this as sexual assault, this by definition...
Didn't she just break up with her boyfriend? What the fuck? And then I already know.
Oh, I heard the allegations that were coming out about my friend Dorian, and I'm absolutely disappointed to hear about this. I've known him so long, and he's been the but Ceci didn't really tell me about what was going on until after the convention. And
I can already hear it. I can see the goddamn document.
Sexual harassment. Emmy would be made aware of this, going on to chew out Dorian and condemn his actions. And Cess would go on to voice to Dorian how this deeply made her uncomfortable, and they were able to continue some form of a relationship, remaining friendly, but by no means being as close or talkative as they used to. Fast forward years later, Emmy would go on to make music with someone by the name of Unchained Pri. If you guys are not familiar with Unchained Pri, he did the infamous
I know this controversy, bro. This one is so... I wouldn't say funny, but it's really like... Let's just watch. Let's watch.
Yeah, that guy. Long story short, they would have a very weird working relationship. He was incredibly creepy, harassed her. None of that stuff was cool whatsoever. Dorian Nelson, though, who at the time was working on Sonic and Tails R with her, went on to write a statement for Unchained Pri and then retweet it. This was essentially the straw that broke the camel's back for Cess, and she completely cut off Dorian. This would all soon reach a breaking point, however. In 2022, Sonic fan
Wait, what happened?
And then time was working on Sonic and Tails R with her, went on to write a statement for Unchained Pri and then retweet it. Working on Sonic and Tails stuff would have a very relationship. He was incredibly creepy, harassed her. None of that stuff was cool whatsoever. Dorian Nelson, though, who at the time...
See, again, granted, this isn't again, like the guy was said, it's not pretty cool that, sexually, being creepy and stuff. But, I'm surprised she didn't have sex with him, too. I mean, granted, he's not really a big figure in the Sonic community, so I guess that's probably why she didn't. But,
was working on Sonic and Tails R with her, went on to...
Hold on, where's that document? I don't see it. Okay.
Dorian Nelson, though, who at the time was working on Sonic and Tails R with her,
read the thing. I would never try to take advantage of people who take the time out of their lives to support me. Now this is new, and I interview for charity. Blah. I didn't run to harm anybody. I'm working on how I deal with haters on the internet who try to come at me. I don't play disrespect from a beat personal with other artists that you may or may not know. All I'd say there are two sides to every story, and there's a lot of bugs. I don't really
write a statement for Unchained Pri and then retweet it. This was essentially the straw that broke the camel's back for Cess, and she completely cut off Dorian. This would all soon reach a breaking point, however. In 2022, Sonic Fan Jam was still running, and Cess was intending to attend. But shortly after she finalized her attendance, Emmy would announce that there would be a Sonic and Tails R panel, which Dorian Nelson would be attending. With her past experience with him and this obviously being a triggering person in general for her, this made her uncomfortable naturally and was brought to the attention of Sonic and Sega Fan Jam, who was already privy to the history between Cess and Dorian. They would eventually work something out, but the head of Sonic and Sega Fan Jam wanted to speak to Emmy and Dorian and instructed Cess not to speak to them until they did. Time would go by with no response from Emmy, so Cess reached out to her, where she was infuriated with Cess, saying that Cess was causing problems with her health and trying to ruin her panel with Dorian, as well as putting the Sonic and
Hold on, let's read this.
Emmy, so Cess reached
Hey,
out
I'm just checking to see how everything is. Hopefully this isn't the case, but if there's any tension between us and you're like, talk about it, please let me know. Thank you.
where she was
To be completely honest, I am hurt that you didn't just come and talk to me directly about how you were feeling. You messaged me to ask if Dorian was going to the event and then took the information I gave you to attempt to have him banned from the event, knowing the entire reason he was there for Sonic and Tails R. Girl, you did the same shit to the guy who was telling this fucking story! You acknowledged he wouldn't come up to you or talk to you, and I even spoke to him telling him of those boundaries, to which was feeling mutual for him, causing established plans that we've had for months, up to an entire year, to need reworking a few weeks before the event. What a bitch.
Infuriated with Cess, saying that Cess was causing problems with her health and trying to ruin her panel with Dorian, as well as putting the Sonic and Sega Fan Jam staff in a horrible position. But the head of the convention saying that Cess was blackmailing them with the threat of releasing a statement on social media if they didn't ban Dorian. This is obviously not true. She was simply looking out for her own comfortability being around somebody who was traumatizing for her, but Emmy was not having any of it. She insisted that Cess get in a call with her and Dorian, but obviously this did not make Cess comfortable. I don't know, maybe have some empathy and understanding that your friend who was violated in her sleep maybe doesn't want to get on the phone phone call with someone who clearly traumatized her. After a few days, Emmy would go on to cancel her Sonic and Tails R panel after Dorian voluntarily stepped down. Cess was trying to make good with Emmy, apologizing as her intention was to never get her Sonic and Tails R panel ruined. But Emmy stayed quiet, didn't say anything to Cess. After all of this, Emmy and Cess would attend Sonic and Sega Fan Jam, but they would keep their separate ways. 2 days after returning from that event though, Dorian would publish a doc about how he had been falsely accused of sexual assault for years, with Emmy going on to retweet it and endorse it. Keep in mind, Cess never said that she was sexually assaulted, but she was harassed. And I think we can assume that Dorian is aware of his actions, and that what he did that night was not okay, and has to live with that guilty conscience. Remember, initially when this happened, Emmy was on Cess's side and called out Dorian, but of course, as we're aware by history, she would go on to create an entire radio drama with the man, and then later, when she felt personally slighted, went on to deny this victim's experience and call her out in a public forum, bringing incredibly personal things to light that the public did not need to know about. Emmy would of course take to Twitter to make her own call-out post of Cess, where she accused her of blackmailing Fan Jam.
Oh my god, let's read this. The Fan Jam event holders told our team that Cess told them that she was sexually assaulted by Dorian back in 2017, which is why the Fan Jam event holders approached Dorian and I about the situation in the first place, and resulted in Dorian not attending the event. The language used when speaking to the event holders were absolute. This is sexual assault. Even if I wasn't going to the event, Dorian should be blacklisted. I would also like to clarify that she lied to me, pleading that she wasn't trying to have Dorian banned, and even made an inappropriate comparison saying if I had been the one assaulted, then they would act accordingly and make sure whoever was banned. I mean, not wrong. As someone who has been assaulted, this is such an insensitive remark to make about someone who was supposed to be your friend. Oh girl, please, if you don't shut the fuck up. To also say that we have health issues of a similar degree is so incredibly insensitive. You're one to talk! Ceci knows of my health problems. To lay all of my health problems on the table, I have been diagnosed I have been diagnosed she can't type either. A severe eating disorder due to a continuing losing battle to the OCD. What? Never mind, I'm not even gonna get into it. I don't know anything about eating disorders. I weigh 86 as I type this, and my doctor has pleaded me to admit myself into the hospital or I will die. I also have recently been told that I may have POTS disease as well as MCAS disease. Nah, she has to be capping. Cause ain't no way! Again, granted, I don't know what those are, but like, how convenient that you're saying this in a thing to you know, throw shit at the girl. Both of which are incredibly disabling, as well as finding out my heart is swelling from repeated stress. What stress of what, that cock? I mean, stop. I also have been diagnosed recently with chronic migraine syndrome that causes blindness, numbness, episodes of speech impairment, and so much more. No longer having the person I needed to take care of me put my health at direct risk, and even up to an hour before getting on my flight, I still contemplated if it was safe enough. Ceci did offer to help me with my health issues by offering to assist in my food restrictions, but I never had the courage to express to her that an act that she and others did to me years ago is what ultimately led me to this disorder. Putting medication in my drink without my permission when I had a high fever. I knew she cared about me and was looking out for me, but I'm still working through learning to trust any loved one with my food and drink. Girl, if you don't shut the fuck up, like, that sounds so, like, cap. Like, oh my god! So what do you do when you go to a fucking restaurant? You just look at the food? Alright, let me stop anyway. The last and final thing I wish to clarify is in regards to the cheating. It was brought up in the original statement because it is such a key part of why so much of this took place. While I respect wanting to retain privacy, this is a lie. Dorian was there, I was there. Several of us were there when Ceci told us that she was cheated on and that video footage was involved. We were all there to comfort her, and we were told everything. I completely understand this is not information that either of them want to be public, but to lie further just continues to show me to the attentions and to show to me the intentions in making sure the other side in this is ultimately not accounted for. Girl, if you don't... Alright.
Thus coming out about Dorian somehow impacted Emmy's health significantly. This led to months of harassment from Emmy and Dorian's audiences, until months later when Cess was able to publish her own doc, which the edited version of that doc will be linked below. That version was ultimately created after Emmy and her decided to make peace due to the harassment both parties were receiving, but if you're curious about the contents of the original doc, I'm sure there are links floating around out there somewhere, and it's also been reported on numerous times in different YouTube videos and forums. This should have been a moment in time where Emmy was able to be examined by the community at a deeper level, seen for the true person that she was. A hateful woman who lived an angry life, who disregarded the people in her life that cared about her, because what did it threaten? Her power, her money, the only things that really mattered to her. But it was swiftly brushed under the rug because only a few days after Cess's doc, the news about her and Ryan Drummond finally became public. A story that, let me remind you, if there was no affair, there's no wrongdoing here. It is simply two people having sex, no matter how weird a sonic voice being used during it might be. Does that maybe raise a few red flags about her potentially being interested in the relationship between a canonically 15-year-old blue hedgehog and an 8-year-old yellow fox? Yeah, maybe, and that would be incredibly fucking weird, but we honestly have more important things to talk about. The thing between Emmy and Ryan is, as of today, there was no wrongdoing by Emmy. But I think Emmy is smart enough to know that there are many instances in her history in this community where she has done plenty of wrongdoing, and she's been able to cover up these scandals with another scandal that is bright and colorful and exciting to the general audience, but is essentially just nothing but fluff at its core. Now, why am I bringing these two specific stories up at the tail end of this video? These are two women in this story that were traumatized by either sexual assault, sexual harassment, something that every woman that deals with these things, if they wish, should be able to publicize and talk about. Also, if they want to keep it private, they should be allowed to keep it private. It is their story, it is their experience, and it should not be denied. Both of these instances are objective things that happened. The people involved who did these wrongdoings have admitted that they've happened. To turn around in one instance and exonerate yourself of any wrongdoing or negligence in relation to a young woman who was taken advantage of by a much older man, and that is putting it very nicely, and then continue to go on to deny your personal friend's sexual harassment experience which you had knowledge to. These two stories are some of the most disgusting things that have been public knowledge in the Sonic community, and it has been completely brushed under the rug. Now, I want to state this. Emmy is not the predator or abuser in this situation. The brunt of the backlash in these two situations should go on to Kevin and Dorian. But like I stated in a lot of the portions of this video, this is an Emmy Jones expose, and she did support, defend, platform, and protect dangerous people associated with her projects, and the Sonic community at large, a space with plenty of children and women. And this transitions us perfectly in how we got here in the first place. Let's rewind all the way back to 2012.
Oh god, here we
Remember
go.
this little relationship right here? Well, now you do. Well, for over a decade, we had no idea that this relationship existed at all, until it was brought to light in 2025 by somebody anonymous. This anonymous person is accusing Saber Spark of rape on not just one, but 2 occasions.
God, let's go. We gotta read this shit.
By somebody anonymous.
Okay. God. My goodness. I became a fan of Saber Spark when I was in high school when I found his essay video titled Ballad of the Brony back in 2011. After graduating and turning 18, I added him on Skype to tell him I was a big fan of his. He added me back almost instantly, and we had a conversation ending with him giving me his phone number, which was a really big deal to me at the time since this was the first time interacting with any sort of celebrity. I had developed a parasocial crush on him due to being starstruck, which was something that he was aware of. We would talk on Skype and text each other semi-frequently leading up to the first time meeting him. In 2012, I went to my first pony convention. Where were her parents? Actually, never mind, I forgot she's 18 at this. I went to my first pony convention. This was my first time ever traveling by myself, and it was soon after the two of us became friends. When I met up with him in person, he invited me to his hotel room and he showed me the video he was editing on his laptop, causing me to internally geek out. I was really nervous being alone in a hotel room with someone I was a huge fan of and had a crush on, but I tried to play it cool. He was 4 to 5 years older than me, making me feel more nervous and out of place. He would bring up the prospects of the two of us dating and how it didn't feel right for us to do so. After that, he almost immediately initiated making out with me and guided me to his bed. In this moment, he did not directly ask me for consent. I was thrown onto his bed and he would insert himself onto me. Huh? That doesn't even make no sense! Whatever. Saber Spark was also significantly larger than me, as I was an 8-ounce something pound 18-year-old girl, so I physically could not stop him. I felt extremely nervous and uncomfortable because I had never experienced having any sort of sexual intimacy with someone I was not dating before, much less someone I just met. I was very new to meeting people online in general. At that moment, I laid there, disassociating, as it felt very wrong while trying to rationalize it in my head to convince myself it was a safe and normal encounter. He rushed off to clean and finish himself and came back to the bed and offered me a handshake saying, "Friends." Like, I know that's not funny, like, you know, like, obviously, if this were a real allegation, that would not be fucking funny. But the fact that homie's out here, like, okay, let me stop. Okay, granted, again, we know this is a false allegation. Because I obviously said earlier, like, this was, like, very disappointing. So homie literally, like, he's like, alright, this pussy's whack. Friends? Let me stop. Again, granted, this is false, alright? This is false! It's false, guys! Anyway, this would cause me for the rest of the event to feel that I was taken advantage of and ashamed of myself for not trying to stop the interaction. Though I tried pretending I was fine to everyone around me, I was and still am demisexual. And being put in that position was not something I wanted. Be so fucking for real. Demisexual? What is that? Hold on. We have to look that up now. Because if it's what I think it means, then it's total cap. Let's see. Demisexuality is a sexual orientation in which a person experiences sexual attraction only after developing a strong emotional bond with another. Oh yeah! No! That is absolute cap. Absolute cap. Because I know damn well you didn't feel that way with Ryan Drummond. Or with Aaron Weber. Or any other Sonic fucking person that you fucked. So, anyway. Let's continue. Hold on. Where were we at? I don't even know. Blah. Where the fuck was I? And being put in that position was not something I wanted. I maintained the friendship until a second occurrence happening at a completely different PonyCon in 2013. This time, we met in a public space, but had no one around and talked for a while. He kept bringing up the prospects of us starting a relationship, but how it felt wrong. He would grab my hand saying how it felt so right, only to push my hand away saying, "But so wrong." I had decided that my crush on him was something I needed to get over because I felt that my emotions were being toyed with. And shit, you're one to talk, girl. He then suggested going to a more public space around others, and we went into an elevator to go to the lobby of the PonyCon Hotel. As soon as the door closed, Saber Spark forcefully shoved me against the wall and shoved his tongue down my throat. This sounds like a fucking, like, a Wattpad novel. It scared me and actually hurt, triggering another attack of dissociation. Once again, he did not ask for consent when throwing me into the situation. Once the doors opened and people were present, this led me to feel very embarrassed. He got off me and took my hand and guided me towards the stairs to go back down to where we just were, and head into a men's restroom, where he pulled his pants down and guided my hands and head to perform oral sex on him. I was afraid of denying him because of past experiences with sexual assault, so I did it to get it over with without wanting to cause a problem, where he would ejaculate on my face, apologize profusely, and then offer the same handshake he did at the con I initially met him, saying, "Friends?" Oh shit, let me wipe off that cum real quick. Bro, again, this is false! I just want to clarify that this is false, okay? It's a false allegation. That's why I'm making jokes. Otherwise, I would not be making jokes if it was true. But, dog, like... Bro. Really? Friends? Like... Dog, be so for real. Despite pretending I was fine, I had slowly begun... Can't imagine. Again, false! friends? I guess. Let me stop, bro. Despite pretending I was fine, I had slowly begun pulling away from Saberspark. I cried that night while staying with a friend, but waited for that friend to fall asleep so no one could hear me. And I would cry for months, feeling ashamed of myself for putting myself in a compromising situation with someone I hardly knew. Girl, if you don't shut the fuck up.
This anonymous person is accusing Saberspark of rape on not just one, but 2 occasions at 2 My Little Pony conventions, one being Canterlot Gardens and the other being Equestria LA. And with this being a first-hand recounting, yes, this anonymous person is Emmy Jones. In the testimony, it's almost described like they had zero intention of having a sexual relationship leading up to that convention, with him using the power dynamic of her being a freshly 18-year-old fan and him being some big popular online influencer. Keep in mind, he had 20 to 25,000 subscribers at the time, much different from the 2 million he has nowadays. She makes their first encounter out to be entirely unconsensual, which would essentially make this rape. It's painted as if this came out of nowhere, despite there being instances in her own testimony where she describes having a crush on Saberspark, as well as him being aware of this. She would then go on to detail her next encounter, where all of the cracks begin to form, recounting them being in an elevator where he forcefully shoved her against the wall and shoved his tongue down her throat. She then says they proceed to go right back down exactly to where they were, to then go into the bathroom for oral sex. In text messages, she describes going down to a basement area where there was meeting rooms and a carpeted area. But not only did Saberspark state that this occurred in a lower gym area floor, but the hotel would go on to confirm Saberspark's recollection of the location as correct. But not just that, why would they go down, to then go back up, to then go back down again? In Emmy's original testimony, she makes this out to sound like it was the last time they ever interacted, that what happened was so horrific that she pulled back and never attempted to speak to him again. If you're paying attention, this is a very twisted, different, evil version of what we described earlier in the video when we talked about Emmy and Saber's relationship. And that's because this is exactly what it is. This is a lie. Now, obviously, after discussing 2 past instances of sexual assault or harassment experiences, I'm not just going to blindly deny somebody saying that they were raped. But once when this was published, us not knowing that this was Emmy, Saberspark was torn to shreds. The narrative of him being a rapist spread like wildfire. You can deny all you want, which is what Saberspark did. But if you don't have evidence, you're kind of fucked. So what did Saberspark do? He sifted through old computers, multiple telephones, spending hundreds of dollars to find text logs, and he did. And it disputed everything. And he said, it doesn't sound like you immediately retreating from somebody being so traumatized by your
Fuck yeah!
It doesn't sound like you
Go, Saber!
did.
The downside is about money for this shit, but yeah.
It disputed everything.
Alright.
Why did you unfollow me? Steven, I want you to be honest with me. It's making my heart ache thinking that you're mad at me to the point to where you unfollow me. Why couldn't you be honest with me for all these months? It's not like I'm obsessive over you. It's hard to do on my own. Bleh. It's hard to do my own thing when you've been fooling around with my emotions in the first place. I'm not the only one at fault. I am the bad guy, and for that I am sorry. Alright, good night. Saber, I can't sleep. What's up? You're the Larson line trended at our con.
Or your Larson line, my bad.
At our con, you should feel proud.
And he said, that doesn't sound like you're immediately retreating from somebody being so traumatized by your experience with them. What it actually sounds like is that according to her ex-boyfriend Solrak, being unfollowed on Twitter at the time was like the worst thing somebody could have done to her. And that when Saberspark did this not 1 but 2 times, remember somebody that she really cared about and had a sexual relationship with, irked her beyond belief, and would go on to hold a vendetta for years before inevitably attempting to destroy his life with false rape claims at a petty attempt for revenge. I'm confused, I'm sure you're confused, so many of us are just asking why, but I have a different question. Here's the thing, the really sad thing. Emmy Jones, not only in this testimony, but on multiple occasions, has stated that she has been the victim of sexual assault in the past. I am a person with a believe all victims mentality. I hurt for her, I feel for her, I not only empathize with her, but I sympathize with her. I obviously cannot do that with the Saberspark story because there's objective proof she lied. And even if she might still have a very frequent track record of lying, I am still not going to deny the other experiences that she references. And I hope you guys don't do the same. The reason she claims she wanted to do this was to prove to herself that she would be able to speak up. She claims claims she spoke up anonymously to avoid harassment, but I think we have a lot of room to believe she did this because she's Emmy Jones. If she were to come out with this claim, which is false, it would have lost a lot of credibility, and people wouldn't have taken it nearly as seriously. Also, another part of that reason in reality is because she knew she was lying. If Emmy Jones wanted to speak up about her history with sexual assault, why didn't she talk about her actual stories? It would have been an incredibly powerful and humanizing moment for Emmy Jones if she actually talked about her experiences with sexual assault. Something that not a lot of people in this community do, getting that deep, getting that personal. Because the unfortunate reality is there are millions of people in the world, in this community, who have dealt with that and continue to do so to this day. And putting that story out there and how you ultimately overcame all of that and managed to have a child and find success despite all the hurt and pain, letting those people know that they're not alone. It would have been, frankly, one of the most beautiful things this fan base ever saw. But instead, she committed one of, if not her most heinous act, lying about a man that you had an intimate relationship with who happens to be a public figure, using that as an attempt to take everything away from him and ruin his life. All because you were slighted 12 to 13 years ago. And if Emmy truly cared about sexual assault survivors so much, why is it that on two separate occasions, two friends, two people who were close to her, were treated by her the way they were? One that came to you privately about their experiences, and then you went on to replace them in your fan project with their abuser. And then another friend of yours who was taken advantage of in her sleep by someone that you would go on to create an entire radio drama with, and then go on to deny her experience after knowing damn well it was true, and then sending harassment her way for months, which almost resulted in her taking her life. All because her trauma was an inconvenience to you. I don't think Emmy cares. I don't think she cares about anyone but herself. The same woman is claiming she wants to be an advocate for sexual assault survivors and standing up for yourself, denied other people's experiences, brushed it off to the side, and then went on to lie about her own. And as I'm sure you know, when you lie about sexual assault, it only makes it harder for people who are coming forward about their experiences to be believed. She would respond to this with blanket definitions and zero evidence of this ever happening. You can talk about your medical conditions, you can talk about your mental illness, but it's not an excuse to act like a bad person, to commit the evil acts that she has. And Emmy, after all of these years of this behavior, being at the age of 31, going on 32, I don't think she can change. After all of this came to light and she naturally got ridiculed, she might have ran off Twitter, but she's doing fine. She's going to Pokemon World Championships, smiling ear to ear, having a blast. But meanwhile, all the people that she's affected, they're still picking up pieces of their life after she came in like a bull in a china shop. She doesn't care. This is who she is. This is Emmy Jones. We've now reached the conclusion of this video. After almost damn near an hour, after everything we've gone through, where do we go from here? I strongly believe Emmy Jones is a danger to our community. I do not believe she deserves a platform. From what initially went to a sweet and innocent love for a franchise turned into a desire to control the community that she was a part of. A years-long quest for power, and that was going to be achieved by any means necessary. Once when she got it, she manipulated her fan base financially, taking advantage of them at every turn, sending them to attack fellow community members. And not just that, friends of hers who were affected by other people close to her were victims of true evil she couldn't see past her own ignorance. Emmy, first and foremost, is a content creator, and her content has been lackluster and middling for years. Not just that, but it's been few and far between, with so many videos being promo pieces or videos that were uploaded out of necessity for sponsorship deals. If you're viewed as one of the top content creators in your community, part of your job is to supply your fans with content, giving back to the community that supports you so much. What exactly is Emmy providing us at this point? What purpose does Emmy, at this point in 2025, exactly serve the Sonic community? Because for the past few years, it feels like it has been nothing but drama and nonsense. You know what persists? Her relationship with Sega.
No.
I'm a Sonic channel first and foremost, and while yes, part of my job is supplying my audience with content for them to enjoy and inevitably having them walk away with a smile or something thought-provoking about the franchise, but also, I love Sonic, so I want to promote the brand. I want to see it succeed, and to see the franchise represent itself to the best of its ability with respect and dignity, and Emmy Jones being associated anywhere near that is the opposite. I hope that I was able to communicate in this video that yes, Emmy has connections with Sega. I understand that there are friendships that extend beyond just Sonic, but to continue associating Sonic with her is doing an active disservice to this brand. Just as recent as last year, she did collaborations with companies such as IHOP and Topgolf to promote their Sonic the Hedgehog collaborations. But was this combined 40,000 view total worth it? We're in the big 2025 now. There are so many Sonic the Hedgehog content creators and content creators in general who are doing so much good for the Sonic brand. And while me, along with them, are getting plenty of opportunity, let's continue having the people who are being an active, positive force in this community be the people to represent it. And that's what this is all about. Community. Every once in a while, there will be people who come around for ulterior motives, but this community is proven to be a bright, beautiful playground where anybody can do anything they want, create any fan game, create some of the most beautiful art, create in-person community spaces where everybody can feel loved and accepted and maybe at home for the first time in forever. And that is what this is about. It's not about the money, it's not about the power, it's about me and you existing together in the same space and enjoying the things that we both love. So please, to everybody watching this video, and even Emmy, choose love.
Well, oh shit. That's actually insane. Absolutely maddening. Hold on, let's read the comments real quick. Yes, this is a reupload after Emmy had the original taken down. Make sure to like and hype to spread the word. Y'all, if you're watching along with me, out of you. Because, wow. Wow. Just wow. Absolutely maddening. Like, just wow. Like, absolutely insane, bro. Like, she's a truly diabolical, horrible person. I don't know how you could be so self-centered, especially if you are a mother as well. That's actually crazy. Again, they didn't talk about like her child. I stated that she did have a child, but like how you can be that way and you have a child as well, like you're a mother, is actually crazy. And then wow, and then just her sleeping with people to get her way and disregarding other people. Like, dog, it's like, you know, for example, like I work a retail job, so what's the word, I've seen like how horrible, I wouldn't say like monstrous, but you know, like how entitled and how selfish people can be, you know, like they can just completely disregard the feelings of another human being because they feel they're entitled to do so and stuff like that. It's just absolutely maddening. Absolutely maddening. And again, I am hoping with this video and with the awareness, again, I'm not bringing that much awareness because I'm a very small channel. But if I can if you guys were at least watching along with me, you know, spread that, because again, that's crazy. Like, absolutely insane, bro. Like, the fact that she has this big of a platform and is doing stuff like this, like, Sega, I really hope let's cut ties, please, because again, if y'all did it to Erin Hansen from the Game Grumps, y'all can do this with her. Because again, granted, maybe a negative would be that she's probably like having a, you know, sexual relationship with one of the Sega executives, so it's not gonna be as easy. Again, granted, I hope that's not the case right now, but like, yeah, no, like, bro, that's absolutely insane. I mean, granted, I feel like, again, like at the beginning, her parents should not have put her on Dr. Phil. They should have got her therapy or some shit, because oh my god, like, again, it's just wow. Like, the dog, I'm just like speechless about this shit, because like, how does one become this way? Because again, like I've said, I've met people in my life. I've met some bad people in my life, and then, customers as well, where they're just like so self-centered or think that, that they can do no wrong and stuff like that. But it's always just astonishing because I could never comprehend doing that to somebody, like doing something so vile, like even like, again with how I am, because I have anxiety and stuff. I'm trying to get better on it. I've been taking medication and stuff. I've been going to therapy, trying to improve myself a bit better, because I've realized the way that I am is not the way I'm going to be able to live forever, because I can't just be afraid of everything. I have to be able to do things on my own and such. And there are even times like I was at Spear Halloween yesterday with my boyfriend, and I saw an employee walking by, and we had to ask whether or not they had fitting rooms, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry to bother you, I just wanted to ask if you guys had fitting room, blah blah. I'm that type of person, like I'm so, like for the most part I'm considerate, I feel bad bothering people and stuff like that. Like recently I've been kind of struggling on money, although granted some of it is my own fault, and I hate, like for example, like even though it's my mother, but I hate having to ask her for money, because she's already having to buy stuff like for the house and for my sister, because my sister has autism and stuff like that. So I hate having to ask her for money, but she's like, no, I'm your mom, and I'm like, I get that, but I still feel bad. Like I hate having to ask her for stuff. Like I'd rather buy stuff myself, but there are times when I do need a little help. But yeah, no, that's I hope Sega cuts ties, because absolutely this should not be allowed anymore. Absolutely not. Like this is downright degradable. Like again, if Sega could do this to Aaron Hansen just for making fun of fucking Sonic and the community getting mad about it, I need the same to be done with this. Like the community needs to, we as a community need to stand up and like let Sega know that this is not okay, and that they need to cut ties with this girl, because absolutely no way. There has to be repercussions to her actions, because it seems like not really. But yeah, I'm just read the more of the comments, and I'm probably gonna end the video, because oh my god, bro, this actually, I'm about to be thinking about this at night. Like, oh shit, man. Just as the goat said, no copyright law in the universe is going to stop me. I really don't know what Emmy was thinking. If anything, getting the video deleted made her look even more guilty than she already was. No takedown notice in the universe is gonna stop me. Sonic the Hedgehog, probably. You were almost there. Emmy could get out of this mess if she just took some accountability. Of course she won't, because shit, we will not be silenced. It got taken down. It's officially canon now. To quote Agent Stone, he's back! He's back! Oh shit. No! Damn it. Hold on. What does it say? Waking up every day, I have terrible depression, but waking up and knowing that I am not such an awful person like Emmy motherfucking Jones, well, that makes my depression seem a little better. It's no cure, but boy, does it make me super grateful. Thank you for making this video and putting things into perspective for me. Her attempting to sleep around with St. Worries just to get her foot in the door is all I need to know about the type of person she is. That's what I'm saying, bro. Her behavior has no place in any community. Good to see this backup man, and needs to be out there to see. Deadass. I have no doubt that she had ambitions to replace Colleen Ocean and become Tails' official VA. I bet you, bro. Yeah, it's funny that she thinks she was going to become the next Tails. However, that's not going to ever happen, because Emmy doesn't really have any educational background in theater, and since she had a child to raise since high school and probably didn't go to college, that's what companies in the entertainment industry look for when it comes to voice actors. Ryan and the other VAs out there, Sonic or not, do actually have backgrounds in acting and theater. That's how they got their roles. I'm so glad that never happened. Tails is one of my favorite characters. Blowing around at the speed of sound. Crazy! The fact that she took it down says a lot. Exactly, bro. Props to Tina talking about her child during this expose. But honest to God, all I could wonder after I finished this video was, if this is how she treats people she called friends, how in the hell is she raising that kid? I was thinking that too, bro. I'm like I was saying, like, how is it that you could do this type of shit and you are a mother? Like, absolutely maddening. I'm glad this video was able to make a comeback through the original, though the original did get a few people reviewing it on this platform. So Emily still failed to try and cover up her acts from being seen here. Great video. Still, my hat is off to you for doing what others refused to try and achieve. I was so invested in this video when it first released and found out it was taken down most likely by Emmy herself. I'm glad this video is back for everyone to see. Hell yeah. I know this is a re-upload, but damn, the ending hit me hard. Sonic has helped me through so much turmoil in my life, and you can tell by watching this that so many other people can relate. No matter what criticisms you can have for a creator, judge their actual humanity fairly. These people really don't deserve half the shit they deal with in the community, and only ends up driving people away. I think that when we only push for that kind of improvement, everyone can see how extraordinary this family is. That's what I'm saying, bro. Amy's her biggest was agreeing with her parents that Dr. Phil could be of help regarding her child. I used to listen to music videos and listen to Sonic R. I wanted to be her and a voice actor, playing as one of the characters. Now I can't look at her the same anymore. I refuse to let her ruin my dreams. I hope that whoever was hurt by her, I hope they find peace, and I hope that she can be better as a person because she's not the same person I looked up to. That is why we have due process. One should not need to prove their innocence. I guess the drama was so bad that YouTube, if not Emmy, shut down the original video. Good thing Super Speed Sonic decided to re-upload it for those who don't know anything about the whole thing. That's all I'm gonna read. But yeah, no, crazy. Especially the fucking the false accusation. Like I get, not really, but I will admit as a person, I would like to get revenge on people who've done me wrong. Again, granted, he didn't really do her wrong, he just ghosted her. Because people in my life who've done me wrong. And would I like to get revenge on them? Sure. But not to the extent of ruining their life. Just like, make it a little inconvenience for them, you know? But anyway. This is like, you know, obviously, I'm the type of person where like, I'm not forgive if not for you, if not for them, for you. I'm not that type of person. I'm not a forgive and forget type of person. I'm a still stay mad and I'll be mad forever. That's just the type of person I am because of the amount of wrong that has been done to me. But anyway. But yeah, no, that's pretty much it for this video, y'all. This was very, very interesting. Like, I had been wanting to watch this for a minute, and, what's the word? Hold on. God damn it, I did not mean to put the video on again. But yeah. But yeah, no, it was a very, very interesting video. I'm glad we watched it, though. Like, to know and stuff. Like, to really know how despicable of a human being that she really is. Because, like I said at the beginning of the video, is that I always, like, I had heard about her before. I had heard about the series she made. And there was always something off about her to me. And, you know, I'm glad that my spidey sense was tingling correctly. And my gut feeling was correct. Because, oh my god. Actually crazy, y'all. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you became informed like I did. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Let's hope